everybody. Welcome to Roundtable Live for March 2nd, 2018. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by Mammoth Games. And hey, back from his little vacation, it's Northern Lion. Welcome back, friend.
How's it going? Hello.
We were just introduced to your new talent, apparently you discovered overseas, in the form of Olympic-style belching, I think, is what you signed up for, apparently. But
within the last, 8 minutes, I ate an entire wrap and drank 2 full glasses of water.
Good God.
So when I sat down, my body was like, we got some exhausts to get rid of. And it was one of the largest burps I've ever had in my entire life.
I'm just so remiss that we missed it on the intro to the show here. But anyway, welcome back. Good to have you again. Appreciate you being on the show once more. And then, of course, joining us yet again, an honorary member of the Roundtable. It is Last Gray Wolf Austin. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you.
Nick, unfortunately, dealing with some power outages in the midst of the
Consumed.
We're calling it a nor'easter. What the hell is a nor'easter?
It is a storm off the Atlantic, kind of like a small hurricane. Usually it's tropical.
That's the first time I've ever heard that term.
And it can blast you with snow, rain, or a mix, which is what we're getting.
They tend to be snow related though.
Yeah.
That's just the name they give a storm that's just like a mix of everything?
It's just a tropical storm.
Yeah, more or less.
Hail.
Like for us, we get today it was rains and winds up to 50 miles per hour with gusts up to 60. And then tonight it's turning into snow. And I don't know about Nick, but where I live, I'm getting about 1 to 3 inches of snow.
Mm-hmm. So Nick's dealing with that, so we wish him the best in getting through that ordeal. But we were going to talk about some video games and such in the meantime. Got some news this week that we find very intriguing. Ubisoft has acquired Brawlhalla studio Blue Mammoth Games.
Welcome.
Of course, welcome to Brawlhalla also, by the way.
That's right.
All of us have a little bit of experience with Brawlhalla, so we'll talk about that, the implications for the studio, and just talk a little bit about Ubisoft's ventures further into the indie domain recently. Also, going to be talking a lot about Into the Breach, the new game from the makers of FTL Subset Games. We've all played quite a bit of it, and we have quite a bit to say about it, so we're going to do that today, as well as Ask Roundtable. We've got a question for Ask Roundtable again this week, and if you've got questions for that, do feel free to send them to roundtableyt@gmail.com. We're bringing that segment back, and we'd love to have your question as well. And right at the end of the show today, we're also going to jump back real quick to the beginning section of the year, because we have completely forgotten to do Game of the Month. So we're going to do that today. January, February, combined Game of the Month. Considering last year it was sort of difficult for us to really find a good Game of the Month in January anyway. It's usually a pretty dry spell at that time of year. So I think the combined effort will probably work out pretty well. So we'll do that at the end of the show today.
I'm telling you, man, January is prime time to launch a good game. Nobody ever does it.
I think there's been 1 or 2 big time releases that have come out in January every year for the past 3 years. I remember last year it was Neo that came out.
That's right.
And I played the hell out of that. Mostly because I had nothing else to play. And then,
again, a great time to put out a game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just January.
And then was DBZ Fighter, was that January too, or was that?
You know what? I think that was January.
Yeah,
I think that was January.
Monster Hunter DBZ. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
A Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
This is easy.
Been a lot more active than years past, but I agree. Yeah, no, it's like a window of opportunity that I feel has been completely missed prior to now, but I think people are finally capitalizing on it anyway.
I'm curious, Ryan, while you were in Korea though, did you have any chance to play anything handheld that you haven't had a chance to catch up on before, or no?
No, on the airplane we played a little bit of Mario Kart, but I have to be honest with you, using the Joy-Cons to play anything that requires fine motor control makes my hands hurt. Yeah. At the end of every race, I was just going like that, trying to stretch out my hands so that they didn't cramp up. But no, I didn't.
They need well, I was gonna say they need an adult Joy-Con, but really you just need a Pro controller at the end.
Yeah, we should have brought 2 Pro controllers, but at some point you're the system becomes a lot less portable if you have to carry around a duffel bag full of accessories, I think.
I mean, we were kind of doing that, and it really wasn't that bad. I remember our trip to Utah, we were kind of just taking a Switch bag along with us, and we would whip it out just on tables wherever we were bored for 30 minutes or so, just playing a little bit of Mario Kart. So it's still not that bad, and honestly, a welcome addition, obviously, to any trip. So
I don't know if I'll ever play that thing mobily. I bought 2 wired controllers just to cement that I'll never take it on.
You got to go somewhere, right? Oh,
Heyo.
Well, I think if you played theoretically something like Into the Breach, that's fine on a Joy-Con, but anything that requires you to like hold down a button for an extended length of time, or like especially like doing power sliding in Mario Kart, my hand is just like, I don't want to do that anymore.
I tried to play on one of my more recent trips Mario Odyssey with the Joy-Cons, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. My brain could not dictate how my hands and thumbs should move without it being just
gotta waggle.
a mess. Waggling and like just again we've talked about ad nauseum in the past, but just the way the joysticks are laid out directly above or below the buttons makes for uncomfortable movements.
Man, I found a pretty awesome addition to my Super Mario Odyssey experience recently at the supermarket. Super Mario cereal, baby.
Oh shit! They brought it back.
Amiibo.
Were they called Supermarket those?
Wait, the cereal's an amiibo now?
Can you just like go back to burping?
Right? Can you go back to taking a vacation in Korea?
Yeah, I wish, dude.
The box is an amiibo, apparently.
Oh,
I don't know how that really works.
I need to go get it now.
Just holding the box over your Switch, like just scan it. Just
and I will never be able to open the cereal. I just will put it with the rest.
Cereal?
Cereal. Did I say cereal? Cereal.
I like having my cereal with
cereal. Whatever.
Cereal.
I will say the Super Mario cereal tastes kind of like if they put a bowl of Lucky Charms in front of you and then like took a magic taste extractor and just out of every piece just sucked it all up. It's just a little bit of cardboard in a bowl, really.
Oh my god.
Anyway, let's talk about Ubisoft, shall we? Ubisoft has made quite the move here. So, welcome to Brawlhalla. If you haven't played Brawlhalla before, it is not really new anymore, I guess. It's been around for a little while now, but is kind of the go-to free-to-play fighting game on Steam at the moment.
Is it free-to-play? I didn't know that.
It is still free-to-play, yeah.
Not for long.
Come on now, let's not get there already. So yeah, Brawlhalla has actually been growing quite a bit over the last few years. In fact, they've started the annual Brawlhalla World Championship, which has been going for a couple of years now, and it's just been getting bigger and bigger. And so it seems as though the trajectory for the studio has just taken a giant spike upward with Ubisoft acquiring them. I think it was even today, wasn't it? Yeah, it was today. Just announced.
Who didn't see this one coming? For months, we've all been saying the Brawlhalla devs are totally going to get bought by Ubisoft.
It was, yeah, that kind of came out of left field a little bit. The idea of them seeking a partner is certainly not, unexpected, given their trajectory of growth and the fact that they do have like a need for it, like they even say by their own admission, they're kind of like a scrappy indie studio. And when those sorts of teams begin to see these levels of success, how many times have we seen them just become completely overwhelmed by it, over enamored, and not really have the wherewithal to deal with that stress, so having somebody like Ubisoft to go to figure out how you can scale things up and how you can better build multiplayer experiences, I'm sure is going to be infinitely valuable for them.
Is Brawlhalla doing well since they have a lot of players, or?
Yeah. No,
I've never really looked into their player numbers.
Absolutely the top fighting game on Steam, I would say.
Really? Is it higher than Rivals of Aether?
Let me check right now. That was the only thing I was going to question, is whether or not that has beaten it out. But I'm fairly certain they are still up there. Let me have a look here at Steam Spy. It looks like, well, good Lord, 9 million owners, which I guess isn't that shocking for a free-to-play game. But players in the last 2 weeks, 580,000. So
that's a lot.
They're looking good. Yeah.
That's way. Why I don't hear about this game ever, like outside of our circles. So that's just why I'm surprised.
Well, it's always,
like at every PAX, there's always a huge crowd around the Brawlhalla booth, and it's never like surprising, because I think the game is good, but you're always just like, oh yeah, I guess it's still like going strong.
Mm-hmm. It's just getting bigger, kind of just unbeknownst to us, like really is just kind of happening under the radar. These guys are just growing and growing.
Like I was telling Bear before we started, at every rinky-dink convention that I've been to, they're always there. They're even at MomoCon every year, and they have they're like the biggest booth by far, well, in the video game section anyway, and there's always people there, and they're always doing tournaments. So
That's going to be, just thinking about that now, it's going to be wild. Ubisoft is going to have a giant Brawlhalla station now in their E3 and PAX presences, right? I'm almost certain of it. So that is going to be interesting.
It's such a weird purchase, just in the sense that you're like, I just don't know, and this is not me suggesting it's bad, but I don't know why the purchase happened. Like, from Ubisoft's standpoint, I'm like, what do you get? I guess you get future revenue from Brawlhalla, so they must see like some kind of future there. And what do the Brawlhalla developers get out of it? Maybe a wider reach. Do you get a wider reach than having 9 million owners on Steam already? Like,
two things. How much did they buy them for? Do we know?
That's undisclosed. They didn't say anything about it.
Two, God help me if we have to go through the Ubisoft launcher to play the game from now on.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, no. Like, don't put it on Uplay.
I am horrified that it's going to be a Uplay thing now. And then anytime we play together, not that we will be playing anytime soon, but all of our microphones get like distorted and loud.
Yeah.
And... Good Lord.
See, that's the thing, is like, and again, they make a post on their website that kind of goes into a little bit more detail about what their plans are. Not a lot, but they seem to have the mindset of nothing's going to change. We're just under the Ubisoft umbrella now. And that's, probably the best that all of their community was hoping for. They just want the power and the money behind them, which is fantastic if you're a fan of the game, I think. Until you're proven wrong anyway, in your belief of it. But
the cynic in me says that's what every developer says when they're bought by somebody.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, like,
sure.
BioWare said that, and now they're like, shelve the former self. But on a more optimistic end, out of like EA and EA, Activision, Ubisoft, all that stuff, Ubisoft is really the only AAA producer that has a really good indie library behind them, that they seem to support indies more than the other companies tend to. Like with Grow Home, this is like immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they do seem to want to kind of feed into that, which is if that's the plan and they really do, then I hope it goes well. If it was like EA, my knee jerk would be a little bit more, I think, pessimistic.
I was gonna say Ubisoft is just like a slightly more aware EA.
Yeah.
In this business
Yeah,
right now.
for sure.
Well, it's like there's no precedent for this that I can think of a studio this small being bought by a AAA publisher. Like maybe PopCap.
I was gonna say
like,
PopCat. Yeah.
20 years ago when EA bought them, or 15 years ago when EA bought them. Like, I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that's super weird. That you're like, well, what if Edmund McMillan I guess Nicholas got bought by like Ubisoft or something like that. Like, it's a weird purchase that it's hard to have like comparables that we can look at and say, well, this happened to this studio and this studio is flourishing and this studio sucks now. But it's just weird.
I wonder if
unusual.
I do wonder if they have like a project under wraps that they're working on right now that they may have wanted more funding for or something.
Too.
Yeah, Brawlhalla too. And maybe they pitched it around and ended up coming to an agreement that way. Because I can't imagine Brawlhalla is the reason Ubisoft bought them. Granted, they do have now an installed player base of many millions, but at the same time, they're going to want to make money. And how much more are they going to make off of a game that's that old?
Well,
let's
talk about that, because I think that is kind of the majority of the reason why they like Brawlhalla so much. If you really look at it, Brawlhalla has a fantastic free-to-play model.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Obviously, they love that. So that the money is going to be coming from that, along with the fact that this is probably an investment on Ubisoft's end. Like, I think they may even be more interested in helping proliferate the esports scene for it. I don't know if even they've really gotten, like with For Honor, of course, they've been trying to do stuff, but I feel like that's something that's maybe in their wheelhouse. And then it's maybe not the best thing in the world, obviously, that the microtransactions may be a bigger focus, but like, they're going to help them make money. And so long as Blue Mammoth is in control still of, like quality control, making sure that whatever updates are pushed through are the ones that they want, I don't know. Like, it just seems like a general positive, but maybe I'm also a little bit of I might be having a little bit of a bias considering my own history with the game too.
You think we're gonna start saying Ubisoft characters in Brawlhalla?
Oh,
Now introducing Ezio, the new fighter for Brawlhalla.
I mean, first of all, it's hilarious, but also I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that in the future, or costumes for existing characters that are tied to Ubisoft properties.
Now I just want to see Sam Fisher in the Brawlhalla style.
Yeah, but that would require Ubisoft to acknowledge that they own the Splinter Cell franchise. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't get your hopes up.
True. Very
What was the
true.
last one? That was we were talking
2013. It was forever ago.
Blacklist was it? Or...
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's a good game.
You sing its praises. I remember.
All for like 2 years, I sang its praises.
It's a great game. Well,
Yeah, so I think I'm optimistic about this, as you can probably tell. I mean, it's another sign that, like you mentioned, Ryan, or I think Mathis actually, you were saying this, that Ubisoft is a little more willing to take some risks on the indies and a little more willing to, like let things maybe even fail. Like I remember Atomega, that giant robot multiplayer game. Months ago or so, which I assume is probably dead now because the multiplayer base for it was very small back when it was launched. But the fact that they were willing to put that out even, is like, I don't know, that a lot of AAAs are not really willing to take that swing. So I have a little bit higher hopes for
Atomega came and went like that. It was so fast.
Man. Well, I mean, what else? What isn't coming and going?
That's true.
Is
I mean,
like
SOS was recently too.
Month.
SOS was like really popular for what, a week or two?
Yeah.
People were all playing SOS, and then it just like tanked. It was like, all right, we're bored of SOS. See you later.
Flavor of the month has turned into flavor of the day if they're lucky.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, the SOS, like, it has like the H1Z1 curse, but actually worse, where queuing for a game takes like over 5 minutes now, and you're just like, I can't. You can't stream it anymore because half of the stream is downtime. So,
which is terrible for a game. That's so sad for a game that each game is 8 to 16 players or something.
16, yeah.
16. That's not that much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another analog too, like going back to whether there's a precedent for this. What if like Psyonix were acquired by EA? That would be something I think would be comparable to this.
What if EA was acquired by Psyonix?
Ooh. Hell
They
yeah.
got that Rocket League money, man. They're rolling it. They're all about them microtransactions. They got a lot of my dollar bills on them.
God, I love those boxes. Rocket League crates are the most fun crates to open.
They're really fun, although they also give you garbage very, very frequently.
I don't know, man. I feel like they are, out of all the crates out there, they give you the best. Like, have you opened a PUBG crate before?
You just showed me a screenshot of exotic wheels you unlocked. You're on the high right now.
But I could get a different color, slightly muted T-shirt in PUBG for
Yeah.
$3.
Yeah, man.
And sell it for $1 million.
Million, yeah. bucks.
Steam
That's-
dollars.
Actually, I want to see like player unknown, because this was like following Bitcoin prices.
Yeah.
Player unknown's trench coat, Steam
Price.
marketplace listings for player unknown's trench coat.
What was the high?
Well, it's
do
the
you remember?
bandana that's
Well-
the most expensive, isn't it?
Oh, maybe it is. One second, I'm looking at it right now. Median sale prices? No, lifetime. Oh, well, in this case, so November of this year, it was going for about $650.
Woo!
Now it's down in like the 300 to 400 range. So
time to invest, dude. That's
no, I think this is the fire sale. I think.
Oh, you think so? All right.
91 for sale. 24,231 requests to buy.
Damn.
Yeah, like 1 cent, right? Like,
Yeah, that $364 or lower. What was the other Player Unknown's bandana?
Bandana.
I didn't realize that was like the
That's because
Bills
there's
hat
no,
or whatever.
Yeah, there's no slot for it when you like you put the jacket or you put something on over the jacket, so it goes away during games, but you can't put anything on over the bandana.
Say a similar kind of trend. November 17th, 14 sold at an average price of $1,150.
My God. Jesus.
February 25th, one sold at $652.
Mm-hmm. Okay. People
So
got in
it-
while the getting was good.
It does seem like that market is, at least for right now, in a bad place.
Is the player base in PUBG still really high, or has that maybe correlated with like a declining player base, a declining demand?
I think
Well, they got passed by Fortnite, didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Fortnite
rise of
passed them.
Fortnite plus like PUBG having to deal with
The
millions
worst
of
PR?
cheaters a month,
Oh,
like
all right,
is starting to undermine faith in Bluehole, I think. And this has been your weekly video game investment chat. Don't buy PlayerUnknown's trench coat this week. It's a bad investment.
Or don't buy digital clothings for more than like $10.
Dude, nothing makes me happier than just in my head imagining all the people who invested like 5 figures into PlayerUnknown's cosmetic items losing like half of their money because they bought a valueless good to try to sell it for speculative gain. It just makes me so happy to imagine their panicked faces looking at their Steam listings.
They've got like a 6-monitor setup. They've got like the Steam store on a couple. They've got like an active ticker on another one. They're just like, no, the numbers, they're crashing.
Zach Galifianakis math.gif.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the meat and taters, shall we? Let's talk Into the Breach from the makers of FTL. Subset Games just came out February 27th, a few days ago. Been in development for, I'd say, probably 4 years now, maybe even since the release of FTL, in fact. And boy, howdy, it's a good time. I'd say so anyway. Austin, how's your experience been with it so far?
Subset Games has proven that they know how to make games.
True that.
Very well. Because they made FTL, it's, I think, still considered one of the greatest indie games ever made, at least in my opinion. And they come out Into the Breach, and it was the same feeling I had. I looked at FTL for the first time, and I was like, this looks dumb. What is this? And then I played it, and I was like, okay, this is the greatest game ever. Same thing with Into the Breach. I looked at it, I was like, these guys made FTL, but this looks dumb. I don't want to play. Never mind, this is like insanely good.
Like, let's talk about that for a second. It doesn't look fun. It
Neither
really
did
doesn't
FTL,
look
I think.
at all.
I think that's their biggest curse, is that their games don't look nearly as fun as they actually are.
Yeah. Like, looking at screenshots of this game, it's like kind of boring looking, honestly. Just the grid and little just tile moving around and all that. But when you get into the thick of it, there's a lot of strategy involved. You can tell it's brilliantly made. Just like there's so much involved with it that all just works so flawlessly. I haven't really run into any issues of design, you know? Like, I've had issues of, well, okay, I should say I've run into, like, spawns that I thought were kind of unfair, but I don't know. Like, I feel like that's also sort of part of the game. It sometimes will just put you in a position that seems maybe even irredeemable. But overall, it just feels like it's just masterfully made.
Yeah, I feel like, and you know, Chad called me out on this immediately, but I think it's geniusly designed. Like, it's the opposite of, like, I'm trying to think. It's the opposite of Fortnite before Battle Royale existed, where you're like, every mechanic that's ever been popular is shoved into this one container. This is like, it does 3 things really well.
Yeah.
And I think I really respect that they took like a tight design and it's not bloated at all. It has like 2 mechanics, and the whole game is an exploration of how those 2 mechanics work. And what's really neat is that when you play with the Riftwalkers, which is like the default squad, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like a strategy game focused around repositioning enemies, but also doing enough damage to kill them. And then as you unlock other classes, like every single one of them plays substantially differently.
Very
like
good.
the Rust, I forget the name, but the one that has the jet with the smoke bomb and the missile that also has smoke behind it and the pushing science unit, that's like extremely defensively oriented. There is mostly just around like preventing damage to buildings. And then there's the like lightning class, where it's all about trying to group enemies as close together as possible and then using the whip to do massive damage in like a chain, but the chain can also hit your own units and your own buildings and stuff like that. So
And,
like
have you played with the beam people yet?
yeah, I actually like them a lot, even though, you know, if you ever shoot in a line of sight with a building, you'll end up doing damage to it. But
yes,
yeah, I think it's really, it's amazing that they, at first you're like, this game seems small and simple, but every single squad adds like a completely different way to actually to play through it, which is really cool.
I think they're called the judo squad, or the iron. It's basically the squad that just pushes, and they have like almost no damage. I hate them. And Chat was trying to tell me that, oh, this is the best squad, right? You just need to be really smart, and it's the best squad. And I guess they're probably not wrong, but you have to sit there for like 30 minutes per turn and just like get out a pencil and paper and plan out every move. And then even then you'll still take 1 grid damage. It's just like, they're so difficult to use. I hate them.
That's how I feel about the Rust Bucket squad, where everyone's like, I was looking at the subreddit and they were like, this is the best squad. They're so easy to play and I love them. And I'm like, I can't kill anything. And then there ends up being like 4 buildings get attacked and I only have 3 units on the screen. I just can't prevent grid damage from taking place. But I also accept that that's just me playing them super wrong.
The thing that was kind of noteworthy to me, this is just a little side note, but Rami tweeted this a few days ago. The fact that they used their previous work in their advertising for their new game. How many indie devs can do that? You know, like I think of maybe, I guess this is a bad example now considering what just happened to them, but the Torchlight devs I know did that. They were saying, you know, from the developers of Torchlight comes Rune or I don't remember what it's called now. Hob, yeah. Then they kind of, you know, went under. But like that was pretty noteworthy in and of itself. But it's honestly, I think, better than FTL. I'm maybe a little bit early on in my experience to say that, considering I put probably like 100 hours into FTL back in the day. But I feel like there's so many things I haven't even looked at yet in this game, and I've got like 6 or 7 hours into it, and it's just been so enjoyable all the way through. Not to mention the fact that like the I just lost my train of thought, damn it. Nope.
We'll just leave you hanging there.
Yeah, wait with bated breath.
I was trying so hard to grab it.
What was he
I
gonna say?
can't yet join you on the better than FTL. I don't want to say bandwagon because that's dismissive, but like on that line of reasoning, because it's like it's too early.
Yeah.
And FTL is so good. It's
so good.
It might be the best roguelite.
I agree. I've always said it's the best roguelike. I think it is.
It's not like the one that I enjoy playing the most, but I still think it might be the best. So, and like the advanced edition when it came out was like a huge upgrade to it as well. I really, really like Into the Breach, but I can't quite say. It depends on what you evaluate it on as well. Like, you know, in terms of, you know, design, maybe Into the Breach is quote unquote better design, but maybe FTL you could play 10 times longer without even really noticing that you've done it. But, you know, does that mean that FTL is better just because you could play it more? Maybe, maybe not. Like, it depends on your perspective, I guess. But
yeah, I remembered my point because that brought it up. But the fact that I even experienced this in just my stream yesterday, but going back to the hallmark of the design, I love that they're in this game where it's like such a small grid of predetermined moves and the enemies tell you what they're doing. There are multiple instances where there are multiple good choices per turn, which is incredible. Like, usually you would expect that, oh, there's probably only going to be like one correct choice to make sure that everything works perfectly in this situation. But no matter what combination of mechs you have, there are typically 2, if not more, options for almost every turn that you go through. Like, it's remarkable the amount of variety that they're capable of introducing in such a small space.
My favorite part of the game right now, pretty much so far, and I've done this I don't even know how many times, is I'll be looking at a turn for like 5 minutes, and I'll be like, this is impossible. There's nothing. I can't do anything. I'm going to take damage. There's no good turn here. And then 10 minutes later, you launch this perfect assault that moves every enemy into the perfect position. They all attack each other, and you're just like, I'm going to go to school. My brain needs to be used elsewhere.
You need to ride this high of intellectual stimulation, right?
When you have like situations, like some of the turns are almost automatic. You're like, there's 2 dudes sitting next to water. I'm going to push those 2 guys into the water. And then I have like, this guy's got 2 HP left. I'm going to hit him with a missile. And then my other guy is free. I'm just going to move him onto a spawn and then like maybe do something else with him, depending on if his attack gives a bonus for the next turn. But where the game really shines is when you run through like all the iterations in your head and you're like, okay, actually the best move is to shoot a missile like at my own building.
Right.
And then that'll do 1 grid damage probably, unless you get the right dice roll. But like that is somehow the best actual turn. When you realize like there's turns where the optimal decision is to basically be like, I'm going to nuke my own mech. And as a result of doing that, it's going to like lead to this perfect cascade.
No, absolutely had a situation just like that where I had to hit my own guy to push my other dude out of the way in order to enable him to move through that little space to get to like the last guy on the map. So yeah, there's that stuff happens all the time, and it just seems purely organic too, which is so satisfying.
And maybe it's just the weeb in me, but honestly, like the time traveling mech thing, well, it's surface level really, and it's just there to explain why you could go back and you do like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
adds a lot for my enjoyment, to be honest.
Have you guys unlocked any of the other time travelers yet?
Yeah, I've got like 4.
I think so. They're just the pilots,
the
right?
different
but
pilots.
there's special pilots.
Oh, okay.
I also didn't realize, because especially like in the YouTube series, unfortunately, like the first like 5 campaigns, I just sent back like a trash generic pilot over and over because he was max level. But like, yeah, there's
The one you start with?
The first guy that he died because I'm an idiot.
Oh.
But like that guy that you start with, he's like he gets extra experience faster.
Yeah.
So and then like there's one I got an alien like AI type thing that is.
Yeah, me too.
It gives you extra grid defense, but the mech that you pilot him with only has 1 HP plus a shield.
There's a doctor I unlocked. He's like when he kills someone, he's all super nervous. Everything he does, but his ability is he gives you an extra turn reset for.
That's really good.
So you get that just gives your mech flying if you power it. And
whoa,
I've never not taken him back. Like I've just always taken him back.
Of course.
I also the only other one I got, and I haven't. It seems really good, but I haven't managed to use it properly yet. Is whenever you repair, it pushes like the Rusty mech does. It pushes like in the cardinal direction 1 tile.
Okay.
But yeah.
What's your favorite weapon so far? I like the well, to be honest, missile barrage when you power it up. 2 damage to every enemy. That carried my ass for.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Mm-hmm.
I really like for creative stuff. I really like the push wind blast or whatever. Push all units in one direction. All units on the map move one direction. Your choice.
I almost feel like any weapon or ability that moves the enemy is greater than any weapon that just does damage outright.
Yeah,
usually, huh?
They're more fun. Like
it's more fun to reposition the enemies and have them hit each other and
yeah.
I always feel like when I it's like a last resort to punch an enemy. I'm like, oh, and just like, I said, like, especially because my punch dude always ends up being max level within like 4 or 5 missions. And I'm like, oh, I gotta punch this guy. That's stupid.
It's cheating.
Yeah.
My favorite definitely has been the teleport. It's just
I haven't had it yet.
If you upgrade it all the way, you can teleport like 5 tiles away or something.
Oh damn!
Like
That's
it's
really
north,
good.
south, east, west. It is. If there's water anywhere on the map, you're dunking them. Like, it's there in there. It's really good.
And I think that's what's really cool about the game. It's not really a roguelite, but I think we can agree that it has like roguelite-ish trappings. You know, like you get different loot every single time, and it's meant to be played over and over and over. Blah blah blah.
Carrying the pilots over and all that shit.
Yeah, it doesn't have like it doesn't have bloat in the sense that like. Did you actually just give mod?
I clicked the wrong button. I clicked the wrong button.
Oh my god!
I was like, all right, see ya.
He had all
It was a conspiracy to transfer all power to him for just a split second.
Oh man, that was great.
But that's your immediate response.
Like I was looking at Chad while I was talking, and I was like, did he just give this mod power?
I didn't mean it.
But yeah, there's no bloat. Like in Isaac. And this is the number one thing I've been ragging on Isaac for over the past like 6 months is there's so many things in that game that's like, haha, it's a joke. Like it's bad and doesn't actually add anything to the game, but it's funny the first time you get it 2 years ago, and now it's just like a relic of a bygone era. But in so far at least, and Into the Breach, I've never gotten a weapon and been like, this sucks and has no good opportunity to use it. Like there's always been a situation where like even stuff like I got the acid tank that allows you to shoot out a tank that then applies a debuff to an enemy. I only rarely found good opportunities to use it, but when you're going up against an enemy that has like 8 HP, being able to hit it with acid and then hit it for 4 damage with like a 3 damage rocket that pushes it into a mountain will actually kill it, which is amazing. So everything seems like at least situationally useful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really like you said, like cutting out the bloat really just seemed to be from the get-go the priority. There's just everything seems to have a purpose. Everything is put there for a reason, and I like the pacing too. I think like it's a little slower, but it's got a bit of that like, well, I don't know. I just prefer games now that kind of have these divisions that makes sense logically. So like Dead Cells, I think is a good example to me where like I know that I can get to a certain point usually based on my level of experience. Like with that game, it was getting to like the 3rd zone after 2 hours. I felt like that was a pretty competent level of gameplay. With this, like I'm finding that I'll probably be able to get all the way to the end by like, or well, I don't know, maybe that last run was a little bit of an anomaly, but it seems like I'll be able to get all the way to the end pretty much every time. Are you guys finding it similar in your experience, or?
The first time I play a new squad, usually I lose on like the second island.
Okay.
It's like I just trying to figure out what to do when you've never seen the weapons before. Like I think it leads to making mistakes. But like playing as the Rift Walkers, it's definitely now like if I don't have the opportunity to go for the final mission, then something went terribly wrong.
Yeah, Rift Walkers, I feel the same. Like, I just recently messed with the beam weapon people, and like I could get to the second island, but just because that's what's great about the game too, is that every squad plays drastically differently and forces you to think completely differently. And I just haven't spent enough time with them to really kind of grasp a lot of it, because the beam guys, as Ryan said, like you fire a beam, it goes across the map, and it's really difficult to not hit your own buildings in the process. But that's where you start to learn, like, okay, well, I can actually use my little defensive drone and throw a shield on the building that I know I'm going to hit. So now I can hit like these 3 guys in a row and the building, but the shield will absorb it and I don't have to worry about it. And I wiped out, a bunch of dudes. So, but it's learning to adjust your thought process that is the challenge and the what gives you the most success in the game.
And dude, it gives you such a galaxy brain feeling.
Yes,
when you
it
get
does.
like the perfect, when you actually deploy properly, and then by like turn 2 or turn 3, you have all of your units blocking spawns, and like there's one enemy unit on the map, and you're just like, don't shoot the building, go 1 tile over where the building's safe, and then everything just bumps into you trying to get out, and you're like, I am a god. I am a goddess. Then sometimes you're like, I can't do anything, and there's 8 enemies on the map, and like I'm 100% is just about like damage control, and like minimizing how much damage you're actually going to take. But
Maybe I'm crazy. It's just been a couple lucks, but a little bit of luck. But when there's a lot of enemies on screen, I do find that getting them to just beat on each other is way easier.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
So like there's a benefit to having a bunch of them out there. It's when there's a bunch out there, and then there's that one that buffs all of them to have them explode on death that makes it way more dangerous.
That's again speaks to the design quality. I think like the grid, again, I keep coming back to it, but it's like I think that's just sort of the basis of how he's able to make everything work so fluidly, because you just limited to that space, and then you just have to keep all those rules in mind for whatever you add to that space, so he's just done that with all these different enemies, all these different damage types, and what's the word I'm looking for, status ailments, things like that. But like they all just, they're so simple, but they make such a big difference in the grand scheme when all combined and make the big picture. Like it's all so perfect. I like it.
He didn't kickstart it, right?
Nah, not this time.
I was gonna say
The Kickstarter was called 4 years of FTL revenue.
I was saying, yeah. Plus, probably
goddamn millionaire.
because saying plus he made what? Did he make $1 million to make FTL when all he asked
FTL
was?
made 200,000. I think.
But it only asked for 10, right?
Kickstarter?
Yeah, it asked for 10 grand.
Yeah. So I'm glad.
I don't know about you guys, but one of the most common mistakes I make is I'll have this whole turn planned out, and it'll be like, oh, this turn's going to be freaking great. Oh, no building damage, and to kill like 3 dudes. And then you do your turn, and you don't realize that you moved one of your mechs out of position of one of the enemies that shoots down the line. You hit a building like 8 tiles away, and you're like...
I always like I find like it's a little bit like Slay the Spire, where instantly the second best turn comes to your brain, and you're like, oh, this is like something I could do that's pretty good. And then I fall into this trap of like, I'm going to go 1 level deeper and find the ingenious play that definitely is guaranteed to exist. And then I like, oh, I finally got it. And I do it really fast. And then I realize like one of my dudes is standing on like a yellow environmental hazard tile. And I'm like,
I said this before we started, but I had one run like 3 hours long all the way to the end. It was a great run, almost no mistakes. And in the volcano, I just forgot to move him away from a yellow tile, and he died, and I lost. And I was like, that's 3 hours down the drain to one stupid not paying attention moment.
Well, that's the other thing that worth. Yeah, so that's the other thing we're talking about is that while Into Breach is very rewarding and complex, it has no issues completely punishing you and running you into the ground for one mistake. And like it gives you one do-over, kind of, but that's it.
It does end up being the case where typically one big mistake spells disaster for the whole run too. Like it's very difficult to recover from losing a pilot, I feel. But
I even feel like one step further. And again, I only have like 11 hours or something like that in the game. But which by the way is like a pretty good testament in and of itself to its quality, considering I've been home for 3 days and the game's only been out for 4. But like, I feel like if you don't get like a good first 2 or 3 missions where you get almost all of the bonus objectives, or maybe like literally all of the bonus objectives, you might as well just restart. Like if you end up leaving the first island and you've only gotten like 3 corporate reputation and maybe you've lost a grid power, I'm like, it's just doomed. If you can leave the first island and have like 8 corporate reputation and almost a full grid, I'm like, you're set. You've got a really good chance. But if you mess up one of the early missions, I think it's like just restart.
Yeah, it does. I agree with that. It does have that issue, along with the fact that, again, going back to that one mistake and you're dead problem, like that, I had a kind of similar issue with, similar issue to Austin's, where you get all the way to the end of a 3-hour run, and then all of a sudden one little slip up causes your demise. Although mine wasn't leaving a dude on a yellow tile; it was just like I got put into a position where I don't think I really even could have done anything about it. I just had so much to deal with. I had to take a hit, and then bam, all of a sudden I was dead the next turn. So I think it's definitely possible that entire massive time expenditures can result in one slip up that really can kind of ruin your experience a little bit. But at the same time, those 3 hours are pretty enjoyable.
Get good.
Also that, that's really the big part.
Well, the other thing is like, I feel like this is a game that's hard to play a lot of in one session. Like even by the end, if I do like one campaign front to back, by the final mission, I'm like, I feel like I get a little intellectually lazy or exhausted, where I'm like, I don't want to like, I feel like the moves are hiding from me the deeper you get into the game, where you're like, I'm just tired now. And like, it's hard to maintain that focus for like a long period of time. Whereas something like FTL is very similar. Like when you finish a run of FTL, you're like stressed out because you're managing like 12 different things simultaneously. But in Isaac, you finish a run and you're like, okay, we'll just start another run of Isaac. Like it's frictionless. But in this, it's like, as soon as the further on you get into a run and the more you've like sustained your focus, the more likely you are to make a mistake, I think, as time goes on. So you have to stay vigilant.
Which is a good thing, I think, really. Like that may even just kind of be the way they wanted it. But the added stress of committing that much to a single run, and then all of a sudden the pressure's on. You got to be able to think it through in the moment.
Yeah.
No, I really like
FTL is stressful. You should try FTL without pause.
Oh yeah, no thank you.
It's the most fun and the most stressful way to play FTL.
No, I'm good. FTL was stressful being able to pause.
Yeah. Into the Breach, like I can already see people doing like, 1 minute per turn time mode. It's like, no, I don't want to play
like,
speed chess.
Hard mode, no purchases. Like
yeah.
It's already good enough. Cool. Well, it's Into the Breach. It's on Steam. February 27th release. It is $15. You also get a free copy of FTL if you purchase it. If you don't already
extremely good game.
Yeah.
Put it on tablet, please.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not.
I would definitely play this on tablet. They ported FTL to tablet.
FTL is on tablet. Okay.
It was like a year after it came out, and it was good. Like it was almost. I think Into the Breach would almost be better on tablet than FTL was on tablet, because it's a lot more methodical. And like in FTL, there were times where you're like, I gotta pause and then hit like 10 things during the pause. In this, you're just kind of like,
right. But this would easily be good for a tablet. I also realized I didn't have FTL before this.
Really?
You don't have FTL?
I didn't own it on Steam.
Okay.
I was like, wait, I thought you were talking about playing
just
it.
walk away.
What is wrong with you?
It is a good
What's
game.
that?
FTL, I've never heard of it. No, it's I'm very happy with the game. So, it's good shit.
Can't wait for the next 4 years when their next game comes out.
Yeah.
Did they ever
keep it up?
Did they ever
just
do
know how to make
DLC
it.
for FTL? I can't remember.
They did.
Advanced
They did an
edition.
advanced edition. It was free, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I'm assuming they will if Into the Breach does well.
It seems like pretty iteratable. Like,
That's what I was
Added
going to ask.
Island.
yeah, one more island and like, a few pilots and, one different squad or 2 different squads or something like.
and that's all you really need.
By the way, like actually screw the 3rd island. Like, I
The
don't
ice one?
understand. Yeah. Why?
Acid? Or no?
An
that's
ice world.
Ice World, right?
Why am I defending the robot factory?
Oh yeah, that.
And every
Going on your
turn,
first time there, because you see a little robot friend, you're like, oh cool, I got a friend here, and then
Yeah.
he attacks you, and you're like, what the fuck?
why am I defending the robot factory that spits out robots that kill me?
Those are rogue AIs, dude. They're gonna get back to the normal good ones after you fix it.
I will always skip the Iceland. I hate it.
You got to get
I
that
do like,
4
too, that,
island victories though to unlock stuff.
Yeah, man, come on. I do like that they scale the difficulty of the final fight depending on how far you go into it.
Yeah,
so
that is cool.
How shifting gears,
Yeah.
you were talking about this before, because I'm curious about it. Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, let's talk about that a little bit. We only did get a brief experience with it, but I am
Because it's Coffee Stain Studios.
yes,
And they
I'm
did-
optimistic.
Okay, because was the last game they did
Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator? Was that
Well,
the last one?
Mhm.
Coffee
That's them.
Stain is they're a publishing label now. So they developed
Okay.
Goat Simulator and Sanctum in-house, and Deep Rock Galactic is being developed by a different studio. It's just being published by Coffee Stain, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like they combined with them, and I think you're right. Actually, I think Coffee Stain is publishing it, and then Ghost Ship Games are the team that is actually developing.
Yeah. Because like Coffee Stain, I thought they released one other. Oh yeah, they released the Westport Independent, which
Oh,
was
right.
that
yeah.
like newspaper game.
The bad Papers, Please.
That wasn't
Yeah,
very good.
like not very good papers, please. Right,
Which maybe
Yeah.
one day we're gonna get Curse of the Oberdeen, by the way.
right.
God.
Still on
One
route,
day.
ideally.
Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic. So, like we said, made by Ghost Ship Games, coming published from Coffee Stain,
Ghost
a
Ship
1 to 4 player co-op first-person sci-fi FPS featuring
Base building?
spaceport. What?
Is there base building in it?
No,
No, not really.
No.
It's,
All right, because I've only seen the trailer and I was
like
confused.
Astroneer combined with Doom.
yeah,
And
Ooh,
it's
okay.
dope as fuck, actually. Like,
it's
so
yeah.
just the brief experience I've had. Well, you played it at PAX too, right, Ryan? So you've got a little bit more.
I played it at PAX, and I also played it in early like closed beta, closed alpha, like
really?
before it actually came out on Steam Early Access. Cade and I played it, and yeah, like I played like 4 hours of it. I think I've been a very vocal critic of the Left 4 Dead formula of games because I just don't. It doesn't really resonate with me. Like stuff like Vermintide and even Left 4 Dead itself, where it's just like you got a gun and then a lot of enemies come at you and you got to click on them. But then some enemies you want to click on like a little differently because they have different parameters associated with them.
Yeah.
But this is that. It's wave-based first-person shooting combat. But I think it's like my favorite of the variants on that formula because it's got that cool Astroneer kind of terrain deforming stuff going on with it. And then the squads actually, like every unit has a unique mechanic that makes them fun to play and interact with. Like one of the units has like a platform shooting gun, and one of the units can put up a zip line that anybody can use to get up to like higher levels. And the engineer, of course, has a sentry gun, and you get the idea. So yeah, I think it's got a cool loop where you go down and it's like get this many minerals and deposit them in your little robot friend. And then as soon as you get enough, the mining company's like, you got it. They call back your robot friend, and they don't really care if the miners live or die because human life is cheap and worthless in this universe.
Expendable.
So yeah, so they're like, you have like 5 minutes to get back to the thing that's going to take you back to the mining company. If you don't get in, you're just going to die instead. So yeah, it seems neat. And there's character progression as well. So like you get gold on missions by mining it. And then that's a secondary resource that you use to like upgrade each character class individually. So you can spec into one that you really like, or you can, stay all around, I guess. And
Did you play Vermintide? Because
I played Vermintide for an hour. This is Vermintide, but underground.
Because like
kind of.
Vermintide 2, I messed around with it for a little bit so far.
Yeah.
And each class, I mean, it sounds closer to Deep Rock Galactic than Vermintide 1 does, because each class has now like specialization classes that you can gain experience into, and each run you gain that you can spend and become like one of two. I think each main class has 2 subclasses.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea of going in, looking for very specific things, fighting a boss, and then fighting your way out. I mean, it kind of sounds like the same thing. Minus
I think
the
it's-
terrain deforming.
To be honest, like I'm pretty optimistic about Vermintide 2 as well, which it comes out like
Soon?
next Thursday,
Isn't
I
it-
think.
Yeah.
Or is it out already?
actually? But
So yeah, well, it's out in like closed, like pre-order beta, I think right now. But I mean, what does out mean in this year, I guess? But especially for us, because we're very important and we can get early access to a lot of stuff.
Right.
Clearly. But like, yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know, like absent Deep Rock Galactic, which I think is pretty fun. none of these games have really drawn me in that much. Like when I see people that have 500 hours in Left 4 Dead, I'm just like, how? I just don't get it. Like it's fun for like an hour for me, and then I'm like, I don't really understand it past that.
I get it. I understand like that thought process with Left 4 Dead with something like Vermintide, where there's that loot grind and that leveling system that you can always get an epic or like a godly drop kind of weapon. I can see the hours being poured in hunting for resources and weapons. But I'm with you on like Left 4 Dead. I don't see the point of playing it over and over and over and over again.
I can tell you, though, I'm definitely a lot more optimistic about the possibility of playing Deep Rock Galactic more than a game like that, because I think the gameplay loop and just the amount of variations that are possible in the gameplay loop is much more enticing. Like the idea of maybe finding some unknown creature if you dig a certain way with the digger, or just being able to have that freedom of movement going around everywhere. That Astroneer style exploration is really satisfying, combined with a pretty good gunplay system and like good procedural generation of both environment and enemies. Like it always sort of feels like you're in danger, but you don't really know what's coming, which is very difficult to do in a game like this. It's easy to kind of get into a predictable loop of, okay, we're gonna hack away at this resource for a couple minutes and then get ready, because once we're done with that, here comes the swarm, or something like that. But no, it's not like this at all. It's like you'll just be doing your thing, and then all of a sudden this giant massive wave of ants will start crawling down the tunnels or something like that. Or there was a moment actually where Rob and I were kind of separated from the group a little bit, and we were just talking like during the show, and then all of a sudden Rob starts screaming like, "Oh God, what happened?" Like,
that was really good. Yeah,
he's getting sucked up by a Half-Life style mouth tongue thing on the ceiling, right? And it's sucking him away, and I'm trying to shoot down at that thing. All of a sudden, one grabs me and latches me away, and they start like having to fire down and try to save us. So like those moments are happening with pretty decent frequency. So I'm optimistic about the way the game has created variance. It's looking pretty good.
I'll have to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very easy game to play for a few hours at least. I have no idea like what the staying power is going to be like, because all 3 of the times that I've played it has been starting from 0 on a new save file. Yeah. And then one of the times was when like the audio was super desynced on the stream, so I was like not really, and I was jet lagged, so I like wanted to throw up. And then one of the times was at PAX, and for whatever reason, I'm not trying to like throw shade on the event planners, but they were running it on like these Alienware laptops that were barely up to the task of running it. So the game has like a lot of it's not necessarily like an asset rich game, but it has dynamic lighting and stuff that is like, I guess it leads to frame rate issues if you're running it on underpowered hardware, at least in that version of the game. So I was like, kind of want to throw up playing it this time as well. The sweet spot was in the closed alpha when I was playing it with Kate. I was like, we spent a few hours playing it, and I was like, this is easy and fun to play.
It looks pretty good too, and like you said, the dynamic lighting makes it look really good, and also is sort of inherent to the mechanics, given that you have to throw those flares around all the time, because in the darkness it's very difficult to actually get through. You got to be mindful of that. You got to keep your light up wherever you go, and it's like it thought of those things, which I like. Like it didn't just throw 4 dudes into a mine and say go crazy. It's like, okay, we're going to actually approach this logically. They need to have light sources. They're going to be able to traverse over certain things with zip lines. They're going to have to build platforms in certain places, and it is procedurally generated, but they have those things in mind with the design of it at the same time. So
I can see that adding a lot of depth to that typical like Left 4 Dead run and gun kill waves of enemies. The fact that you actually have to put some thought into how you want to progress is actually that's enticing to me.
Yeah, and
it means
said,
go ahead.
Like Ryan said, like they've got actual unique reasons to use the different classes too. Like they each have their own kind of contribution to it.
I'm waiting for those games to just have like a layer that actually gets me, or that strikes me is I guess what I mean to say. Because like when we played Vermintide 1, maybe it was because I only put an hour into it, but by the end of it, I was like, I can't stomach the thought of shooting another rat in the face. Like for Into the Breach, they're not really games that are easy to compare, but like, they're both fresh in my mind. Like the idea of having a few enemies on the screen that all require careful consideration is a much more engaging style of game for me personally than just here's 1,000 dudes. And I get that there's an easy defense of that, which is just like, it's just mindless fun. And maybe once you get a little further in, it's like even easier to be like, there's some strategy that you can actually draw upon. But I don't know. I haven't found one yet that's going to get me. And I don't think it's going to be Deep Rock Galactic because I worry about like long term if there's any sort of hook to keep you there once you've played 20 hours of it. But
I'm thinking in a similar vein right now, to be honest. Mining pun.
Maybe Vermintide too. Maybe that like Borderlands loot grind is kind of what I need to find myself more engaged. But
I want to try Vermintide too because I've had the same opinion as you, where like most horde games these days to me have just not done anything. Like they're just boring. Because yeah, you're right. At a base level, shooting the same enemy 800 times is boring, and it's gonna have to have these outside factors that keep you coming back to do that. Kind of like MMOs have these outside factors to keep you mindlessly grinding horribly boring quests.
But the thing with Vermintide, I think the reason, at least for me, I like Vermintide a lot more than Left 4 Dead, for instance, is obviously the classes. Each class plays just drastically differently, but the idea of like something like I can't remember if his name's actually the Pyromancer, but the mage who uses fire, you actually have to balance his body heat, because if you go too high, he ignites himself and he starts killing himself. So you have that outside of just blasting mindless enemies, you're also consciously paying attention to how you're fighting and the spells you're using, because each spell does a different amount of heat to your body and you have to cool yourself off, which takes time. So that kind of balance, a little bit more of a strategic layer, adds a lot more enjoyment for me. So again, it's not like Into the Breach kind of strategy, but it's less mindless.
Yeah.
I can't believe no one's done the Call of Duty Zombies model except Call of Duty, which is a like escape the room puzzle in a horde mode game. Like it is such a fun concept that I played like 10 years ago that I wish I could play again. It's just so interesting and fun.
Yeah. That does sound cool.
It's the only reason I want to try one of the newer Call of Duties is to see if they still have kept that pattern, which is like really intricate puzzle while you're shooting a bunch of zombies.
I'm kind of hoping that that's a similar itch to what Outbreak mode in Siege is going to scratch, which also comes out like this
4 days
week. Yeah, like
it's the
that.
6th, I think.
People when Ubisoft was like, we're going to do like a zombie mode in Rainbow Six, I think everybody was like justifiably sort of pessimistic and cynical that it seems like a bit of a like way too late cash in on a zombie phenomenon. But the opinions that I've seen of the people who have played it in early like advanced editions seem to be pretty positive so far. So I'm kind of interested to see how that actually how it turns out.
As far as the staying power for Deep Rock Galactic too, like I'm really hopeful for this one. Like I said, like the idea of just them adding on horrifying new creatures, and while maybe that will just result in bigger and scarier bullet sponges, I'm thinking that like they've got enough tools to work with here to maybe make something interesting out of it. But it's also possible that it could just end up being like a fun 10 to 20 hour multiplayer thing. And that would probably be fine too, like it doesn't have to be incredible, but it's still pretty damn good. Also in early access, so it's entirely possible that it changes quite a bit over the course of that.
True.
Yeah.
The idea, even if you get 10 to 20 hours out of it, is still a good chunk.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was really positive about it after that 1 or 2 hours that I played the other day, so I'm probably going to go back and try a little more and see if that sticks.
Cool.
Yeah, it's $25 in early access right now. There you go.
Is that, would you, before we leave it, do you think $25 is worth a worthy asking price for what's there?
Yeah, I think if you're into this style of game, especially if you've got a few friends to play with, if you've like got a Left 4 Dead squad that you're looking for a new game to play, this is definitely a good one to do. I'd recommend it for sure. 25 is not bad.
Sweet.
I'm like a little bit more lukewarm on it, I think, but yeah.
Word. All right. Shall we hit up Ask Roundtable then?
Yeah, we'll do Ask Roundtable, and then I'll change the topic. Go for it.
Don't be too excited.
No, let's not do it. Let's.
Yeah, fuck it.
We're good.
Done.
Go for it.
It's time for Ask Roundtable. Bringing back this weekly segment wherein you send your questions to roundtableyt@gmail.com. We're going to do our best to answer them. This week's question comes from Eddie. Eddie, thank you for sending in your email. He says, thanks. He says, well, I hope for the best for Bear. I didn't even read that part, but appreciate it, buddy. He said, obviously at the start of this year, sorry, I've completely lost my place.
You all right?
This year,
Sound like
I'm
Ryan after
having trouble
Korea.
reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, the start of this year has been better than most Januaries and Februaries for games on both the indie and AAA front. However, a lot of the more successful titles are just old IPs done better than previous iterations. Monster Hunter, Celeste, Shadow of the Colossus, etc. Do y'all think that 2018 can continue to be successful with this trend, or do you think a new idea needs to emerge to really make 2018 a good year for games? Austin.
I'm a little worried for 2018 because I feel like, as far as I can see, there's nothing that crazy on the horizon. I think the big one is Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a sequel, but I don't really like Red Dead Redemption, so I'm not really
Wait a
interested.
second. What? What kind of opinion is that?
I don't
Literally the
dislike it.
first
It's just
of
not.
its kind.
It's just not my kind of game. But I'm looking at March.
But what
and
if they
April.
put a battle royale into it?
Ooh.
All right, now you're talking.
All right,
Mhm.
that's what I figured.
But I'm looking at like March, April, May, and I'm comparing it to last year, and I'm like, what do we have? We had Zelda last year. We had
Which was
the open world game that I can't remember the name of.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero
Horizon
Dawn.
Zero Dawn.
Mhm.
It was a banging month, and I'm looking at March, and I'm like, Outbreak mode in Siege.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds also came out in March of 2017.
Yeah, like it was the month, and now I'm looking at this spring going, it might be a bit quiet. So I don't know. I think we might have a bit of a slow spring and summer this year,
You
unfortunately.
think we're looking at just continued reworks, reiterations?
Yeah, I'm
of
thinking that's
previous
probably
titles?
because we got
No.
Dark Souls remaster.
I think you're
coming out.
crazy. I
Yeah?
think you're all
Mhm.
crazy.
Oh, what do you got going on in your little noodle?
We've got a
there?
ton of good shit
Honey
coming
Pop
out this
3.
year. Honey Pop 3 is on their way. Hell yes. No, first, like for people like strategy simulation stuff, we've got Surviving Mars hitting in a few days, which is I can't talk about it yet, but it's worth keeping your eye on if you like that style of game. You've got Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire hitting if you like that kind of thing. We got Far Cry 5 coming out, potentially Metroid Prime 4 coming out.
No, that's not coming out this year.
got-
I will bet large amounts of money that
We'll
is
see.
not coming
We'll
out
see.
this
We still have got Nino
year. That's
Kuni
like
2,
2020.
Nino Kuni 2, Kingdom Hearts 3,
Mhm.
Red Dead Redemption 2,
Even just
Far
in
Cry
March,
5.
A Way Out's coming out.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Is that coming out in March?
It's supposed to come
Oh,
out
yeah.
like
A Way
March
Out's in a couple-
26th
Oh
or
shit! Now
something
see,
like
that's what I was looking for. I was like, that I'm excited for. Yeah.
Mhm. That's,
Sea of
that's the
Thieves.
same day as Nino Kuni 2.
And if you in chat, if you ask Dan, Star Citizen's coming out this year too.
if you live in Dan's fantasy universe, then yeah, Star Citizen.
After
will
that
be
speech at
released.
the Game Awards, A Way Out is like my top.
Yeah,
I'm pumped
exciting
for it.
game.
Yeah.
I am a big Joseph Farah
And if,
fan at this
and if you
point.
give a crap about David Cage
Fuck
games,
the Oscars.
Detroit Become Human is about to hit, and that.
Dude,
Oh,
I am
yeah.
actually like, I'm
I'll
so
play it.
optimistic about that game for two
Why?
reasons. No, because it's the easiest. No matter what happens, we win.
Oh,
If,
all right, I
if
give
it
you
comes
that.
out and
That's
it's
true.
terrible, the streams of it are going to be so funny that it's going to be awesome. And if it comes out and it's great, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Like
I'll give
the
you that,
studio should be crapping their pants.
We're gonna
Because
rip
like
them
if it
apart.
comes out and it's bad, they're in serious trouble. But for the fans, it's a win-win situation. Because even if it's bad, it's great.
Don't
it's like-
forget Detective Pikachu coming out on the 3DS this
Oh
month.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The
Spider-Man.
movie or the game though?
Oh, both, baby.
And
We're
Spider-Man
getting it all.
PS4 is hitting this year too. Fucking, I can't wait for that game.
Mm-hmm.
David Cage is like Tommy Wiseau before Tommy Wiseau realized he's like a joke. Like David Cage, he doesn't realize he still takes himself so seriously, and that he thinks he's like a good writer, and he's just not.
Aw,
Or David.
or David. Why are we so mean to David Cage on
I
this?
am like, and I don't want to go too deep down this road because I actually have real feelings about it. But I was kind of like,
Don't touch your emotions. They're scary.
that's
Yeah,
what I
no,
mean.
like-
Like, but I was kind of like when the announcement tweet came out for when Detroit was going to come out, I saw people dunking on the game, and I was like, I get it. You don't like David Cage, but like, it's really unprofessional. The game's not out. Like if you saw, and I get that the idea is like we're not journalists, so we don't have to be beholden to the same standards. But I was like, if you saw Kotaku be like, "Hey, look at this game, probably gonna be a piece of shit. We haven't played it yet, but we saw the trailer and we don't like it. It's gonna suck." You'd be like, "That's really unprofessional." So
I didn't take place in any Twitter dunking, but
Yeah.
mind you, like I think a lot of that comes from looking at all of his games and
Yes,
being
yeah.
like, they all follow a pattern.
Yeah.
And they stopped being good after like the second game.
I'm just saying.
I agree that they're...
It's not out yet.
No,
I know.
I genuinely, because I really like that style of game. Until Dawn is like the best David Cage game that had no David Cage in it. Like, I love that style of game. I would love some of his crazy ideas to really like hit a home run. Like, for as bad as the last 10 minutes are, Indigo Prophecy or Fahrenheit for those outside of the US, like I played that game like 3 or 4 times. I really enjoyed it. And Omicron and Nomad Soul, I'm eager to get to because I hear it's his best one, and that was like his first one. But then I look at like Heavy Rain, and I really didn't like that game that much. And then I see Beyond Two Souls, and Beyond Two Souls, the Jason game, and then Beyond Two Souls was just trash. It was just terrible.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So I hope Detroit, because there's a cool premise. I think Detroit Become Human is a really cool idea for a story. Fingers crossed it's great. Or at the very least, fingers crossed it's hilariously bad.
Yeah.
So, Mathis, let me circle it back to the original question with you then. So, do you think that the year needs more new ideas to be a good year for games, or do you think we can continue this trend of a little bit more reiterations and remasters?
I mean, I still feel like the top-down, like, the reemergence of the CRPG is still new, that having, like, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire is still new and exciting to me, because we still don't get too many of those. We had, Pillars of Eternity, we had Divinity 2, we had Divinity 1 as well, and that's kind of it. I think we had Plains of Numenera, which was that kickstarted kind of spiritual successor to
Torment,
Planescape. Yeah, Torment.
Right.
So I'm excited for that. And, I mean, I don't know, as long as they do what they set out to do well, I don't really have a problem with them necessarily reiterating or adding a new spin to an already existing genre.
Yeah.
I think people were telling me that it's that time of year, or that time of multiple years. It's the Pokemon year. I think the new Pokemon's supposed to be.
It has been like 2 years, right? So.
And it's supposed to be the Switch one. So
the Switch one. That's right.
So the question, I think, is like, is it going to be what we've always wanted, which is like not a tiny little mobile Pokemon game with barely any.
Well, they just did Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, right? That was
DS.
That's the sequel that no one cares about, kind of part of the cycle.
The one that no one wanted.
It's always that redo of that. Oh yeah, we're getting Weeb Souls, Code Vein this year.
Okay.
That's the anime Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
From
I'm
Capcom?
pessimistic, but
Really?
I don't know.
I
Well,
hope it's good.
So this is like very hypocritical because of what I just said about David Cage and the dunking on him, but I just can't take the name of the game seriously. It's so superficial for me, but I'm like, I just don't see in my head a game called Code Vein being an inspired title. Just like something about the title seems like you'd see it in like a PlayStation 1 bargain bin at, Babbage's or something like that.
Games with worse names have gone on to bigger success. That Code Vein, I think, is not really a strong offender.
I think Code Vein is a bad name.
All right.
Teach their own, Ryan.
I want to be nice to Code Vein and David Cage. I want to be nice to everybody.
If it comes out and it's great, then more power to him. I just don't like the name. That's my...
Listen, you can't judge something on its name. As a man,
I'm not gonna be on Twitter like, "Hey, look, this piece of garbage is coming out. Look at his stupid name." But like, privately in my head, and now publicly also on the podcast, I am like, I think this name is dumb.
I named myself BaerTaffy, and look where I got.
I mean, yeah, none of us have a leg to stand on, really.
Very true.
Or 4 legs to stand on. But anyway, I don't know. I think the year has been very good so far. If there is a criticism to be made that the titles have been a little, I mean, I don't want to say like derivative, because they're like often they're kind of like direct or spiritual successors to other games in like their own franchises.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. Like Monster Hunter World is amazing. It's like the best Monster Hunter game I've ever played of the 3 out of 1,000 that I've played. So if that's like a perfected, polished version of Monster Hunter, I think that's fine. Dragon Ball FighterZ, if that's like a more accessible and positive fan servicey sort of BlazBlue, that's cool too. So I'm fine with that. And then I don't know, I kind of feel like Into the Breach is a very original title. Is it the first game that ever did strategy or grid-based tactics or something like that? No, but these don't come out very frequently. So I don't think like we were going to talk about Dungry today at some point, but like it's not just another action platformer roguelite, you know, it's like a little bit more of an original thing. So I'm kind of I'm very positive on the year so far. I think I will come to bat for Austin. I also don't like Red Dead Redemption that much.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm with you, Bear. What the fuck?
I
What kind of opinion is this?
I
Like,
bought it. I
the
bought it
wrong
and watched it.
opinion.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I played like 10 times more of the multiplayer in Red Dead Redemption than I did of the single player, which is hilarious because the multiplayer literally has like a slow down auto aim mechanic in deathmatch, and I was like, "This is
Yeah.
awesome." But
I remember that. It was fun. Yeah.
I'm not trying to have like a hot take that is like DAE Red Dead Redemption is bad.
That's
But
'cause
I
Austin
had
did.
he's already done it, so the take
Yeah.
is lukewarm at best. But the problem that I had with Red Dead Redemption, and the reason I kind of like bounced off of it, and yes, I got to Mexico. Oh, it's amazing that it's all silent until the guitar kicks in when you cross the border. Sure, that's a cool moment. I don't disagree. But every mission being like, well, by tarnation, doo-doo. And then he goes, hey, get on your horse and then follow me for an hour of exposition. And then you get to the mission and you shoot 4 people. Get on your horse and follow me back to where we got the mission in the first place for 4 hours of exposition. I'm just like,
Do not play Kingdom Come Deliverance then.
See,
Just
it's
don't.
right, like,
Just avoid it, my dude.
it's like you can do that, or you can play GTA and get in your rocket car in between missions and have a much more exciting time.
yeah, I mean, I really did not like the first time I played through Grand Theft Auto 5's campaign. I didn't like it that much for kind of the same reason. Every mission is like you get a phone call at your house and then you get in your car and you drive to a point on the map. And I'm like, this, just take this part away. I don't need this part where you drive to, and then you calling some dude in the phone and he's like, man, you're whack. Get down here, you turkey. You know, I don't need that part. But then the second time that I played it, I was like, I get it now to a greater extent. Like it's more fun and it's satirical and that's cool. But still, I think there's almost like, it's kind of like a lot of dead air in my opinion, where it's like, I don't like the characters, so I don't want to interact with them.
I mean, shit, that's half the battle then, I guess. If
Yeah.
you don't like the John Marstons of the world, you're probably not really going to get unraveled in it.
Yeah, then the ending of the game would do nothing to you if you hated the
No,
characters.
you'd probably be a little pleased.
As long as I didn't have to ride my horse out to the ending, I might be okay with it.
You can drag people behind your horse in that game. That
Dude,
didn't
I
exist
had
before.
some amazing times, like emerging gameplay in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
I remember like I was riding my horse out in the desert, and you come across like a bandit that has a dude tied up, and they kind of give you like an ethical choice. The bandit's like, hey, if you just go away, here's like half his gold. So I took half his gold, and then I shot the bandit in the head. And then
Yeah.
the dude was like, thank you for saving me. And then I shot him in the head.
Of
And
course,
I was
yeah.
like, don't get any ideas. I'm just out here. I'm living my best
Say,
life.
living
So,
your life.
yeah.
For that, you might enjoy Kingdom Come Deliverance then.
We got God of War coming out in April too, so you know it's.
Oh,
it's
Is that wow? Why am I not hearing about any of these games? Because they're coming out so soon.
And for
'Cause you're not
those who
paying
give a
attention.
shit, yeah, the World of Warcraft expansion is coming out.
That's my opinion on that one.
All you want, I'm gonna
That's
fucking
why we
play
bring
it.
him on the show.
I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna play it, and I
Dude, I
will.
used to play World of Warcraft a fuck ton. That's still my opinion.
It ain't mine. Damn it.
They couldn't even make this one exciting. It's like, oh shit, they're just fighting again. I don't know.
But the reason they're fighting is important.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's like,
getting
I don't know. There was one that's like the Lich King. I was like, oh, that's so cool, man. It's the Lich King is the big bad boy. We're gonna go kill him. Hell yeah. Now it's like, ah, they're at war. You go classic horde fighting them alliance boys.
I will say, yeah, when the Lich King did kick it, that was kind of like the peak of WoW, because that's why everybody's playing, and Arthas is the Lich King, and when are we gonna get to him? Once they removed that, once we killed him off, I was like, okay, well, who's left? Some deep lore big baddies that most people don't know.
That's what they should call the expansion. It would be like
Deep
a
lore
meta.
big
no,
baddies.
who's left?
Who's left? That's I will
World of
say.
Warcraft. Who's left? Both narratively and also on the servers.
Exactly. And on Blizzard. Who really is left from the original team, do you think, for WoW? I don't know.
Like
Probably a
developer
lot of
wise,
them. Yeah.
probably a good chunk.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Wow, who's
Uh,
left?
Oh, and then Pit People came out of early access today too.
That's today.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, crap.
I don't have space
Yeah,
for
same.
it, but I have desire. Like
Yeah.
I really so want to play Pit People. When we played it last December or January, it was so good.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why are there two games that are both, well, Into the Breach is grid based and then Pit People is hex based, you know,
Yeah.
like it's almost the same style of gameplay and they came out a day or 2 days away from one another. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
it's too close together.
Elise and I are definitely going to check it out, but yeah, I agree. It's man,
need to
but
check it
I
out,
mean,
too.
when is your window at this point? We were just talking about how January was that wide open space that people really should have been taking advantage of. And now all those slots are being filled up. I mean,
Yeah, indie
where
games are
else
flooding
go?
it, which is good.
Stop playing 3 hours of Slay the Spire a day.
Mhm.
You still heavy on that?
Yeah, but I'm
fun
like,
game.
so dude, hey, Austin, have you played the dailies at all yet?
I did a couple of them, yeah.
I won't put your own opinion in your mouth for you, which is the worst way to describe it.
Please do.
but like the dailies, I've only done one, but I was like, this instantly, I don't want to touch Ascension mode ever again. Like that can fuck off. Have we said the F word yet? I'm gonna use the one F word.
Ooh,
But,
that's
like-
already, dude. Damn it.
But the fact that the dailies have like cool modifiers that make them all completely unique from an average run is like exactly what I needed in that game.
Yeah,
So-
it's great until you get the strength gain on Hexaghost with the silent, and you just press Alt F4 and never play it again.
Well, I imagine you probably find yourself in a terrible spot from time to time. Like the daily from what I guess is technically yesterday, because they roll over at like 4 p.m. Pacific, is like every spot on the map looks like a question mark. So you actually
Oh,
can't
that's
really
cool.
plan a path. Yeah. There's like, so it was Ironclad, and we're going to get into a little Slay the Spire talk here, I guess. But you play as the Ironclad, but you get 2 cards from the Silent class added to your
That's
deck at the start.
Really
So
cool.
I don't know if it's seeded for everybody, but I got 2 times Bouncing Flask, which was super useful in the early game. And then you only get 2 cards to choose from instead of 3. And then I've still got it open on my right monitor because I had to leave to do the podcast. But I'm trying to see what the third thing or the fourth thing is here. Let me just open it up here. What is this? Oh, the merchant's prices are always 25% higher forever, which sucks. But
That sucks.
apart from that, it was really cool.
Yeah, Soda Spire is just a game that's going to continue to get much, much better. Like as they keep adding stuff. Like there's
I've
still,
yet to dive in. Maybe I should.
You should, man. It's really good.
I think I have like 150 hours in it now.
God.
Just
It just
didn't-
much like Ryan with like Left 4 Dead type games. Card games have a hard time grabbing me. Like I have
It's
such
gotta
a
be
hard.
really good, and this one is really, really good.
I'll still give it a shot.
There's new music too now.
Is there?
I also feel like either I've gotten used to the art or they've been like incrementally.
They're adding animations. You're probably seeing those.
Yeah, it
They've
looks
added a lot.
better now. Like it previously, people were like, "I love the game, but it looks like trash." And I'm like, now it doesn't look like trash anymore. I never thought it looked like trash. I
I
always
never
thought it
did.
looked like serviceable, but
Mhm.
I think it actually looks like semi-polished now.
I want to circle back real quick to the question since we are
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
kind of still there, but just in general, I am too also fairly optimistic for this year. I think last year was far and away like the best year for games we've ever had, and I think the
It
trend
was
is just
What about 1993?
I can't forget about good old '93. Name 2 games that came out in '93.
Doom and Madden NFL 2010.
I was following you until you said 2000.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, and the thing is too, I mean, this is almost certainly due to the fact that I just played one of my favorite games of all time, remastered to perfection. But I'm kind of the opinion right now that I wouldn't really mind seeing a few more remasters of classic titles, especially if they were made with that level of quality. Like, I think there's a lot of games from back in the day that people would love to play a modern version of. Final Fantasy VII comes to mind. They're already working on that, of course. And
Is
then
that ever going to come out?
I will.
Hasn't it been
eventually.
like 4 years since they announced that?
Dude,
When was
it's-
it?
It was like 3 or 4 years ago now.
It was maybe like 2015, I think. I want to say is when
It's
they
ridiculous.
announced
People
that E3.
have been asking for a remake of Final Fantasy VII probably since about the year 2002. So I'm just waiting for like the moment when we cross the threshold where the remake has been in development for longer than people asked for it to be in
I
development.
feel like
for.
people wanted it for a while, but really didn't want like start yelling about it until the tech demo when the PS3 wasn't out yet, and they were like, "This is what it would look like on the PS3," and everybody's like, "Oh
no
my
one
god,
really
they're
thought it
doing
was like a realistic possibility. I don't think, and they even went.
I
so far
did.
as to say,
I bought it.
I remember interviews like a few years ago where they were saying like the scale to which we would have to work to actually do this in the modern day is ridiculous.
Well,
That
that's
makes
why
no
it's gonna-
sense to me. Like,
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. You know, like
yeah.
well, I just mean like, what do you mean if we remake this game where it's impossible to remake it? It doesn't make any sense. You made it on worse hardware 20 years ago. Like, how could it possibly?
No, think
like,
about it though, dude. Like, did you play it?
I've played through Final Fantasy VII like 5 or 6 times. Yeah.
I've never played it still.
oh man, you should play it.
I'm waiting for it to come out.
It's a big game, but
Yeah,
it's
but
full of low poly bullshit that doesn't really require like a ton of effort comparatively. So like if you're talking about taking every element of that and turning it into something modern, that's a big undertaking.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's like it's not that big, for one. I think it's big in my head because it came out in like 1997, but I don't think it's like.
I played it as an adult like fairly recently. It's still fairly large. Like,
Every town is like 2 screens.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like as far as the scope of RPGs from the 90s, it's like probably one of the biggest. But
It's gonna be so depressing if the most exciting part of that remake is gonna be when they announced it.
Well, it's gonna be episodic, which I'm already a little weary about.
I heard that, and I'm so almost checked out now. Like,
yeah, I think a lot of people are about that. But
I guess the thing is like they cheated in Final Fantasy VII. And that's okay because the game was still, especially at its time, was amazing. But like almost everything is like a JPEG that you just walk on.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like there's such that you're saying what I was saying pretty much. Is like they cut the corners to make it so that it looks huge, but it's all just like these tiny little files that don't actually require a lot of effort.
And the fact that like the camera was always fixed.
Yeah.
So that allowed them to have like a super detailed environment, but in reality, you could like is flat. You could just knock on it and you hear that it's hollow on the inside, right?
Falls over.
But
exactly.
I still
just think about going to Midgar for the first time. It's like you said, it's like just 2 screens primarily. But if you took that and transferred it to the 3D model, that's like a massive undertaking just to make that city. And you probably have to really ramp it up too. People aren't going to just accept 2 screens of.
Yeah,
Midgar.
I do wonder how much they're going
think
to
they
add
would.
to it.
You think
I think if you just made it in 2018, but you cheated, but the cheats were better because it's been 20 years, people would be fine with it. I think at least. But I've always seen Final Fantasy VII as like it's like if Square Enix was your granddad and he had like 6 gold bars under his floorboards. It'd be like granddad would be like, hey, you know, I really want to buy a new car. And you'd be like, why don't you sell one of the gold bars? And he's like, no, that's for when shit gets real. It's like this, Square was like, things aren't going so hot. Initiate Final Fantasy VII remake protocol so we can start printing money again. And then it's like it's taking a while to get the gears in motion. But I might be projecting that.
Well, I hope it's good. I mean, I think that's true for a lot of people. Like Final Fantasy VII was the first RPG that like played and hooked me.
Yeah.
So
Might have been one of my first. I think maybe Star Ocean.
I have such
faithlessness and integrity.
I have such vivid memories of even picking it up. I got it for my birthday. I was in like a Target with my mom or something. I had no idea what it was, but it was new and it was expensive, so I wanted it.
Big jewel case too.
Yeah, the big, thick, like 4-disc jewel case, and I was like, whatever, I want that. Like, give me that.
Black label of that game is going for like a few hundred now, isn't it?
If only I still had it. I'm sure Black Label PS1
I
games
got
are so expensive.
greatest hits edition because it was $20.
You guys think the Dark Souls remaster is going to be anything more than just looks nicer?
No, but I'm into that. I'm completely okay with that, I think.
I'm it's going to make me so angry because it's such a good opportunity to fix like the 2 things wrong with the game.
Bed of Chaos.
And the fact that it glows orange in that area.
Right, yeah. That area is like visual nausea for some reason. Like,
if they just removed Bed of Chaos, do you think people would be happy with that? Just straight up,
just put like a big,
like a new boss.
Take the tree and give it a sword and then make you fight the tree like that, like without the floor disappearing. I'd be okay with it. But dude, I've been playing Bloodborne and it's got the same, like, the games are almost all masterpieces, but some of the bosses, I just want to go to Japan and be like, just one more dude with a sword is okay.
Here's a boss. Dark Souls 2? They have lots of dudes.
There's a lot of dudes with swords.
Too many, in fact.
And clubs and hammers and, makeshift weapons. But like, in Bloodborne, there's like a boss that's like, hey, there's 100 of us, but only one of us actually takes damage, and you're like, cool. And then
Rat boss.
Yep. It's very similar to Rat Boss, and then like there's another boss which is essentially like is also echoed in Dark Souls 3, but when it's like you hit me once and then I teleport and now there's 4 of me, and if you hit one that's a ghost it disappears, but if you hit me I take one hit and then I disappear again.
Womp womp.
Me ranting about
it's actually
Bloodborne
not that expensive, by the way. Greatest Hits version's like $30. Black Label's like in mint condition close to 100.
$50
really?
or $30. That's a 50% return on investment.
Look at
over
that.
20 years. That's not good, but
Keep it up.
Not good at all. But eventually, your great grandkids will have treasure.
I'm keeping a mint condition $2 bill in my drawer just to,
ooh,
that thing's
good
gonna be
plan.
worth something in the future.
One day, man. One day.
All right.
yeah.
Anyway.
Bloodborne is free this month on PS Plus as well.
Oh, nice.
So
There you go. I might have to get that actually. I gotta finally play that.
I'm on a kick now. It took me like 2 weeks of playing Bloodborne, and now I'm like, I want to play Demon Souls.
Ooh,
Whoa,
snap.
that's a harken back.
I know.
You missed the boat, didn't you? Didn't they just take down the online like 2 days ago?
2 days
Oh,
ago.
did they?
Literally, the servers went down 2 days ago.
Did you ever play
Yeah.
Neo, Ryan?
No.
Neither did I. It's on
Oh,
PC
you
now.
guys should play Neo. You two should definitely play Neo. I keep singing that song. You got to do that. It's a good
I might now that it's been on PC for a while, but
Uh-huh.
now that it is on PC, I have more of a desire to play it.
Anyway, yeah, Eddie S., thank you very much for the
Yeah.
question, man. We appreciate it very much. If you've got a question, send it on over. roundtableyt@gmail.com, and we will continue to do Ask Roundtable here on the show. Thanks for that. Let's go ahead and wrap her up with good old Game of the Month.
Oh, yeah.
Yet to do this year.
Oh,
but let's do it for a combined January-February effort.
Sure.
I refuse, by the way. I'm going to give out 2.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
What, are
happy.
you a cop or something?
If you're a cop, you have to tell me. Go ahead, Ryan.
you
you
wanna
start
go first? Go for it.
This
You
is
got
a
the
good
floor.
stretch.
Looked
He's
like
a-
this.
yeah, this is like a long one, dude.
Sorry, I'm still like a little jet lagged.
Yeah.
My January game of the month is Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes
And
sense.
I think my February game of the month is probably Into the Breach. You can make the argument that it came out so recently that maybe I'm kind of like blinded by the novelty of it and the fact that it's new, but put like 11 or 12 hours into it in 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, it wasn't like inertia. It was like, I want to play this. I'm compelled to play this. So I feel safe in those.
Those are the best backlog games. Where you can just knock them out so fast because it just
Absolutely
it's
true.
enjoyable.
Austin, you'll be our effective Nick, but what do you think for
I wish I could give a Nick game, but I'm going to give the most not Nick game. I think even though it didn't technically come out in January or February, Slay the Spire's got to be like, I would give it to Into the Breach if it had been like at least like one more week.
You can do it. You can do it. Come on.
I can't. I got to give it to Spire because Spire is just like, I do not like playing roguelikes in early access. I don't think that it's a good idea to do that.
Mhm.
But Slay the Spire broke that trend, and it kept being more and more fun as they put even little bits of more content in, the dailies, the ascension mode, the new enemies and all that, and it's just been a blast. Like I can't wait to play more of it as they update it.
Great. Mathis, what you got?
Probably
Feel
surprising
free to get
nobody.
two if you want.
Well, the only one that came to mind for me is Kingdom Come Deliverance. I
Mm-hmm.
have been loving that game, and as I said last podcast, and I continue to hold to it, it's a Euro jank masterpiece. It really is. There's so much going on that when the game is working as intended, which it is more often than not, it's really a difficult, in-depth simulation RPG. And then when the simulation just falls apart under the lower budget that they had, it's it can be funny for the most part. There's just some really hilarious moments in that game that you would see something in like a Bethesda Fallout game where just the NPCs are acting in such a way that just makes no sense, but it's hilarious to do so. Like today I recorded an episode, and I was assaulting like this camp, and I was like trying to do reconnaissance, and I accidentally attracted the entire camp. So it was me running away from like 15 guys in armor just chasing me. And I ran by, and while I was gone on the road, a Wayfarer had spawned, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "I've got a side quest for you." And I'm just running by, and all these dudes run by. He's like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And I'm just like running circles around him. He's just sitting there, he's like, "I promise it's worth your while." And I'm like getting shot at, and the sword is like, "I'll pay ya." It's those moments are awesome. And Ryan, the reason I think you might like it, despite the fact that there are going to be aspects I know you'll loathe, is that it takes place in like actual medieval history. It's not a fantasy game, and it's telling a story outside of your main character's personal story. The actual events that are happening are all based on actual history, which is fascinating and really fun.
The story's really good.
It is. It's really great.
It captivated me, and I really wish the game ran well because I wanted to play it, but I can't. It runs like ass for me. It's unplayable at the moment. So
Do you have a monitor with G-Sync?
Maybe. Is that the problem?
That was the problem for me. And once I was able to, again, it takes a little tweaking of just going into like the source files and putting in one little thing, and
that's the NVIDIA thing, or is
the
that...
NVIDIA G-Sync monitor? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having this, like cutscenes were running at 9 frames a second for me. It was ridiculous. But
for me, like I will be walking. Depending on the area, there are times where every 5 seconds, literally, the game will freeze completely and have to like catch up, and then
really
playing. So
I don't have that problem. I don't know what's causing that.
Yeah, it's running pretty poorly. But I assume they're going to be working on patches throughout the year, so I'm willing to wait a little while and come back to that one.
I hope so. It is a phenomenally fun game, as long as, much like Mount & Blade Warband, as I keep comparing it to, if you can look past some of the problems the game has, the depth and the game that's there is actually really great.
Yeah. For me, obvious choice, Shadow of the Colossus far and away was the best gaming experience I've had so far this year, and it's just so perfect. I am so thrilled with what they've done with that. However, there's a few games that I really need to play that came out in the last couple of months that I think might even have a chance to, well, they won't unseat it, but there were certainly honorable mentions. Subnautica, I know, came out at early access in January, and I know Nick has been playing the hell out of that. And
I want to play that now, yeah.
Yeah, he talked to us quite a bit about it last week. He's got lots of good things to say about that. You guys have been playing Celeste, right?
Yeah.
It's really solid as well.
That game is actually fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So I got to check that out too. And then the Civ 6 expansion, actually, I was really curious about. Rise and Fall.
Apparently it's good.
Yeah, I got back into that
with
my family recently, and I think that would be a good one too. Oh, of course, Metal Gear Survive. Can't forget about that.
Oh,
Holy shit, how
yeah.
did that one slip under?
Stellaris 2.0, I still think is great.
Oh, this has very little to do, but just you reminded me, like, I have not played video games split screen with family in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the first time with my new roommates, and it was like I was 5 years old again, sitting there screaming at each other, like playing. I was like, wow, why I've been missing this for so long. Such a good moment.
It's great, man. Yeah.
But then, like, they don't really play games, so I, like, smashed them in every race, and it became not very fun.
I mean, you'd probably smash us in every race.
No, Mario Kart balances out. Unless you know how to play games,
Mario
Kart balances out.
I don't respect Mario Kart for that reason.
Right.
Yeah.
I like Mario Kart, but there's nothing worse than, like, having a clean lap and then you lose because someone that sucks got lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so the person in 12th uses lightning so that they can finish 10th. And then at the top, everybody else just like dukes it out as a result of the great equalizer.
You get smushed. All right. Well, there we go. Best of January, February for 2018. We'll be playing new ones here in March and keep that going for the review at the end of the year. And I think that'll do it, won't it? That'll wrap up the show this week. Cool.
Sweet.
Play Into the Breach.
Play
Yes.
Into the Breach. It's good.
Play it.
It's good stuff.
Play it and love
Good
it.
game.
Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Mathis is going to run down the patrons at the end here. I do want to remind you. Yep, just giving you a little reminder.
Yeah, you go, boy. You go. You keep
But
going.
thank you very much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you tuning in again this week, and we should be fairly consistent moving forward. Mathis will be gone in a couple weeks, but we'll figure that out then. And yeah, Follow us here, twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. We do the podcast every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Want to thank Austin for being on again. Where can they find your stuff online?
Twitch.tv/last_gray_wolf. If you want to see lots of Into the Breach, I'll be playing that probably for a good couple weeks. Or forever. Probably not forever.
Our inbox in the Roundtable account is at 666. I just changed that to 665. You're welcome.
So we got room for one email.
That's right. Yeah.
Just one.
And then Satan himself will be
It's a
summoned.
good one.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. You good? Okay.
Yes.
And thank you very much for watching. Twitter @RoundtablePC. Thank you for subscribing if you did as well here on the Twitch channel. Really appreciate that too. Thank you very much to the patrons over on patreon.com/roundtable, who include
Julian Avelsgard, Scotty119, Ricky Grist, Jin, your job's a joke, you're broke, your love's life's DOA, Falco,
Yeah, okay.
Simmerfet, Cowboy Chemist, Eric Schooley, Stephen Aoki, that's my real name, not an unironic shout out, James Peed, Peter Sunsun, Ellis Spice, John Kalchik, O Tamaz, Games BR, Jakar Sampson with a dance number, Cole Noir, Sahoa, Talks to Wall, Colby Klein, Green Light, and Oren Saltzman.
I want to mention as well, I've been getting a couple of messages about this, just unfortunate news. One of our patrons, Chaos Theorist, was in a car accident a few weeks ago and has passed away. So it's just really sad, but just want to say, we appreciate what you did for us, certainly. And yeah.
Heart goes out to him and his family.
Absolutely. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Great show. We appreciate your time here, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
See ya.